Call this meeting of the Southfield Board of Education to order. This is a meeting of the Southfield Board of Education in public for the purposes of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is time for public participation during this meeting as indicated in agenda item number 8. Announcement: there will be a closed session after this meeting to discuss legal matters. I'd like to ask Trustee Williams to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. My name is Michael Poole. I'm the president of the Southfield Board of Education.
Eddie Robinson, Vice President.
Good evening. I'm Leslie Love Smith, the Secretary.
Yolanda Charles, Treasurer.
Rance Williams, Trustee.
Nathaniel Lewis, Trustee.
Daryl B. Joyce, Trustee.
Jolena Chiango, Student Representative.
Maya Ford, Student Board Representative for Southfield High School for the Arts and Technology.
Mariah Calhoun, Student Representative for Southfield High School of the Arts and Technology.
Linda Wood, Superintendent.
Vicki Hall, Associate Superintendent of Human Resources, Legal and Labor Affairs.
Kay Dankovich, Associate Superintendent for Administrative Services.
Derek Wilson, Associate Superintendent for Instructional Services.
We also have with us from N1 Studios Mike Madigan and Marlita Gamble. Providing technical assistance is Ms. Paulette Gardner and Recording Secretary Ms. Nicole Christian. Tonight's a special night. We've got special presentations to Trustee Rance Williams and Trustee Nathaniel Lewis. The Mayor of Southfield, Dr. Kenson Cyber, is here with a special recognition for Trustees Rance Williams and Nathaniel Lewis. The Southfield Board of Education also has proclamations and awards for both of these trustees. Please welcome Mayor Cyber to the podium.
It's always a pleasure to visit the Board of Education. And I would like to start with Trustee Rance Williams. If you'd like to come over, I have a proclamation from the Mayor of Southfield. I'm declaring December 13th, 2016, Rance D. Williams Day in the city of Southfield. And if you'll indulge me, whereas Rance D. Williams was elected to the Southfield Public Schools Board of Education in November 2009, and during his tenure, the district started to implement Imagine 2020, a reorganization of the district to enhance academic quality and improve student performance and ensure financial strength of the district going forward. Whereas a graduate of Kentucky State University and Central Michigan University, Rance D. Williams worked for General Motors Corporation as a global lead purchasing agent and supply chain engineer. And whereas Rance D. Williams was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the United States Army in 1982, served as the executive officer and commander of the 17th Military Intelligence Battalion in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and commander of the 314th Military Intelligence Battalion headquarters in Detroit. And whereas Mr. Williams is a recipient of numerous awards and honors for his service in the community, including the Detroit chapter of the Kentucky State University National Alumni Association, and he is the recipient of the Uplifting and Transforming Community Award. Whereas Rance D. Williams lives life by the motto, live life as if it is your last day, love like you've never loved before, and laugh often and heartily. Now, therefore it be resolved that I, Kenson Cyber, Mayor of the City of Southfield, County of Oakland, State of Michigan, do hereby proclaim December 13th, 2016 as Rance D. Williams Day in the City of Southfield, and join his friends, family, and fellow trustees in congratulating him on his, and a sign of appreciation for his many contributions to the community. Mr. Williams?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the thoughtfulness from the mayor and the city council. I'm gonna save my comments until a little later because I don't want to repeat them over and over. But once again, I'm so thankful for the opportunity to have served. There's no greater call than service. And with that, like I said, I'll save my other comments for the other part of the meeting. Thanks again, Mr. Mayor.
And I understand that Mr. Williams is not going far, that he is going to be chairing or heading up the Southfield Public Schools Educational Foundation, which is something I encourage people to support. So, well, obviously I can't have two people on the same day. I mean, this is Rance Williams Day, so I don't want to diminish that. So, Mr. Lewis, if you'd come up, I'm proclaiming tomorrow, December 14th, 2016, as Nathaniel Lewis Jr. Day in the city of Southfield. I wanted to make sure each gentleman got their own day. So, you ready? Okay. Whereas Nathaniel Lewis Jr. was elected to the Southfield Public Schools Board of Education in November of 2009 and served 8 years as a trustee, committed to ensuring that no child is left behind through a safe and supportive, high-quality student learning environment. And whereas, among the many accomplishments during his tenure, Southfield Public Schools has earned awards for STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics programs starting in the 6th grade level, national recognition for high school music and journalism programs, the graduating class of 2015, and we could have gone back many years because it's a very similar story, $23.7 million in scholarships and grants for, to prestigious colleges and universities. And the district has invested $3.5 million in technology upgrades district-wide during Mr. Lewis's tenure. Whereas a graduate of St. Martin de Porres High School in Detroit, Nathaniel Lewis Jr. is a prolific writer, educator, and ordained minister whose resume reads Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of Michigan Dearborn, where he majored in social and political philosophy, a Master of Arts degree in education from Wayne State University, and a second Master of Arts degree in religion from Ashland Theological Seminary. And whereas, while studying at the University of Michigan, Nathaniel Lewis Jr. worked as an intern in the United States House of Representatives in Washington, D.C. during the summer of 1997, and later in the Public Relations Department of Ford Motor Company World Headquarters, gaining valuable political and corporate experience. And whereas Nathaniel Lewis Jr. is a published author whose first book, Hurdles of Adversity, The Story of Nathaniel Lewis Jr., is a memoir of his struggles and how he overcame life's challenges. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Ken Siver, Mayor of the City of Southfield, County of Oakland, State of Michigan, do hereby proclaim December 14th, 2016, as Nathaniel Lewis Day in the City of Southfield. And I join his friends, family, and fellow trustees in thanking him for his contributions and service to our community. Mr. Lewis?
I would just like to give kudos to Mayor Kenston Siver. He's an outstanding mayor. And we are all fortunate to have such a great and prolific leader like Kenston Siver.
This is about you.
Okay. For a brief moment, I would like to congratulate Talisha Rice and Charles Hicks. They did a phenomenal job campaigning. They worked very hard, and I'm sure that they're going to be good board members and the future of Southfield Public Schools is very bright. Thank you, and God bless you.
Now we'll have further awards and proclamations from the Southfield Board of Education. And I'd like to first of all call Vice President Betty Robinson to the podium.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Proclamation to acknowledge Nathaniel Lewis in honor of outstanding service as a Southfield Board of Education trustee, December 13, 2016. Whereas Nathaniel Lewis is an advocate for public education and served diligently as a trustee of the Southfield Board of Education since 2009. And whereas Nathaniel has obtained the Award of Distinction from the Michigan Association of School Boards due to his diligence in attending MASB's, that's Michigan Association School Board, Certified Board Member Award classes in order to become as knowledgeable as possible in all areas of the responsibilities of a member of a Board of Education, and has supported the entire school board's efforts to obtain honor board status and to receive the Michigan Association of School Board Award of Excellence during his tenure as board trustee. And whereas Nathaniel is committed to supporting academic programs for students and has imparted his valuable experience and knowledge as an instructor working in the field of public education to increase student achievement, and as a religious leader to strive to encourage and serve the community. And whereas Nathaniel has dedicated his time and talent working with legislators in the United States House of Congress and is accomplished author of his inspirational memoirs, Hurdles of Adversity. The story of Nathaniel Lewis, Jr. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that Nathaniel Lewis is recognized for his outstanding service to Southfield Public Schools, students, staff, parents, and the community. Presented on this 13th day of December, 2016, on behalf of the Southfield Public School. Mr. Lewis. In recognition of your service for Southfield Public School. Thank you. You are so welcome. Okay.
Next, we'll have Treasurer Yolanda Charles.
Good evening. This is the proclamation to acknowledge Rance D. Williams in honor of outstanding service as a Southfield Board of Education trustee. Whereas Rance D. Williams is a tireless advocate for public education and has faithfully served as a trustee of the Southfield Board of Education since 2009. And whereas Rance has obtained the Master Diamond Award for the Michigan Association of School Boards due to his diligence in attending MASB's Certified Board Member Awards classes in order to become as knowledgeable as possible in all areas of the responsibilities of a member of the board, and has held the leadership of offices of Treasurer, Secretary, Vice President, and President of the school board. During his tenure, the entire school board attained honor board status and received the MASB Award of Excellence for their collective superior efforts. Whereas Rance has been a conscientious overseer of district funds to overcome strenuous financial challenges that directly affect our district, and was integral in the process of implementing Imagine 2020, a district initiative of reorganization to enhance academic quality, improve student performance, and ensure the financial strength of the district. And whereas Rance has diligently served the United States of America as a second lieutenant in the U.S. Army and as an executive officer and commander of the 17th Military Intelligence Battalion at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and as a commander of the 314th Military Intelligence Battalion headquarters in Detroit, Michigan, and in the Michigan National Guard, and the 177 Military Police Brigade. And whereas Rance has received numerous awards and honors for his service in the community, state, and country, including the Historically Black Colleges and Universities Game Changer for Uplifting and Transforming the Community Award, the Alpha Upsilon Foundation Presidential Award for Outstanding Achievement, and numerous medals and commendations from the United States military. And whereas Rance's enthusiasm for academic enrichment and excellence in education provides inspiration to others while focusing on improving student achievement and serving the community. He is continuously encourages community and parent participation, school business partnerships, and promotes initiatives that increase resources for schools. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that Mr. Rance D. Williams is recognized for his exceptional sacrifice and service to the Southfield Public Schools students, parents, and community presented on this 13th day of December 2016 on behalf of the Southfield Public Schools, signed by our superintendent and our board president.
Thank you. And gentlemen, we all thank you for your service. Next, we'll move into staff and student recognition. The Levy Middle School Band was invited to participate in a commemorative event in Hawaii at the Pearl Harbor Memorial. Principal Dr. Rita Teague is here with more information. Dr. Teague.
My students would please join us up here looking all Hawaiian. These are the shirts that we had to wear, the students had to wear for their performance. Let me start off by saying thank you so much to Dr. Wood, to the school board, to the Mayor Ken Siver, and many parents and friends who supported us in this effort. It was a year and a half long effort of working very, very hard, but as Mr. Smith texted me when we got there, and again when we got back, we made it. We were thrilled to have Mrs. Robinson and her husband join us, and you'll see them featured in some of the pictures on the presentation. Thank you. So this is the official seal of the event. Want you to know that we sent an audition tape, and that's how we were selected. We were the only band in the state of Michigan and the only middle school band. So the students, thank you. The students faced the task of learning very difficult pieces of music and arrangements much different than what they were accustomed to, but they did it in a short period of time, and we were very proud of them for their ability to not only learn the music, but also to keep up with all the high school students. Thank you. We're ready for the, you know I don't, it's the STEM school, but I don't understand this. Okay. Okay, there we go. All right, we started out at 3 a.m. There were 83 of us, myself and 82 of my best friends now. We arrived at Levy at 3 a.m. I want to thank Leslie Smith, yes, Dennis Gregory, Joan Newberry, and Dr. Wood again for helping us. We went to the airport on Durham buses because, you know, getting 83 people to the airport on time with all of their luggage and instruments was quite the undertaking. And so we were very, very happy and pleased that the school board and the central office supported us in that effort. It was a long trip. We did not arrive there till 2:30 p.m. their time, which was 8:30 our time. And we were very tickled to come down the escalator and be be flowered with our leis. Okay, let me, oh, thank you. And here are some of our students. We were very excited. This is at the airport before we left, and they were obviously very excited. Some had stayed up all night. Okay. Okay. And day one, it'll come up in, oh, there you go. Mrs. Thomas, where is she? There she is. She put this together. And I was like, oh, wow, she got all the pictures in and everything on time. We arrived at the airport, and this is, children telling us that we have to up our selfie game because obviously we don't quite have it together yet. So we arrived. These are some of we still have the bands, armbands they gave us. We had to wear these as admissions to all of the events. Again, those were the leis that they presented us with. We had to get up early. We went on a narrated tour of the city. So not only did they go there to play, but they were able to take in a lot of history and learn quite a bit while we were there. So we did a bus tour. We saw all of these things that you see, and do not ask me to pronounce the king's name, but we saw his statue. And the USS Arizona Memorial was quite breathtaking, as that ship is still it's right just below the surface of the water, and you can see it from the Pearl Harbor Memorial building as you walk over. But the real gut-wrenching part was that you see drops of oil. It is still leaking oil 75 years later. And the drops of oil rise to the surface. And the myth, as we would call it, is that those are the tears of the men who went down with the Arizona, and the oil will continue to leak until all of them have come home to rest. Oh, thank you. He won't talk, but he'll tell me what to say. There are 5 left. Oh, excuse me. You'll see two of them in a minute. Okay. So we went to the Pearl Harbor. Oh, this is the king statue. He was governed over Hawaii before it was taken over and made a territory. This is the cemetery of all the people who have died defending Hawaii. And this is the palace, the last, one of the last palaces that is there on the aisle. The children were so excited to see survivors. Mr. Smith did an excellent job of teaching the students where they were going and why, and teaching them the names of the survivors. And when they saw them there, when we saw them at the Pearl Harbor Memorial, the students were so excited to see them. They just rushed up to them and greeted them and said, "Thank you for your service." And it was just a joy to see how respectful they were. Because they had learned why they were there. But even more importantly, the survivors were so tickled to see them. They even gave them their autographs on their shirts. And of course, this is Doris Miller. We know him as Dory Miller. He was a mess cook, mess attendant below deck. And he came up on the deck, was not trained to shoot or to fight, because he was a mess attendant, but he came up from below deck and took the machine gun and was able to fight off many of the airplanes that were bombing his ship. All these children had to practice, practice, practice. But what got me, they had to walk 2 miles with their instruments to go practice. So some of them, the other students at the school looked at me today and said, "You don't have a suntan." I didn't walk to practice. So we see that some of them are sporting their Hawaii tans. And then this is at practice. You can see Mr. Smith has his selfie game intact. You can see here the many, many students that were there from all over the country. I would also like to give Mr. Smith kudos. When we go anywhere with him, he gives us our marching orders, what we have to wear every day. Not what time to be there, but what to wear. But when I got there and I saw how good you can see our students. They were always dressed alike, so we could find our babies no matter where we went, and that was so important. So good looking out. Good looking out. Again, you can see how many, there are quite a few. And for one director, 1,500. And for one director, for the first time to direct all of those students after they had learned at their schools for months the music. Well, really, no, I'm sorry, for weeks, because you just got some of the music about 3 days before we left. So this is like 80-some degrees, and they walked there with their instruments. But they did an awesome job. They didn't complain. On the way back, again, the selfie game is intact. And you can see our students stretched down the sidewalk. They look a little tired now. They don't look like they did when they arrived. And then you will see the few who braved Diamond Head. And there's Ms. Robinson and her husband. They climbed, and Mr. Gooden, one of our parents here, they climbed we were told it was 99 steps. But when they got to 99, they said, oh, this is just the landing. And so they braved and climbed to the top. At this point, I braved the largest open air mall in the world. But they went and braved Diamond Head. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. And then again, that's when they got to the top, they took their picture by the state monument at Diamond Head. And these are some of the views from the top. They said it was worth it when they got up there, but some of the adults were a little slow moving the next day.
And
you have any?
We did our exercise for years.
Yes, you did. Oh, and then that night we went to a luau. And it was a lot of fun. Again, we learned a lot. Learned a lot about Hawaiian cooking. All the students, the luau was just for the students who were participating, and so they had us organized by school, and it was a lot of fun. Okay, why we were there? We were there with the other musicians from across the country to present to the world the gift of music. The parents and the chaperones went aboard the USS Missouri, where we could view our students lining up for the performance. And it was one thing I did learn that I did pay attention to this part. Our bus driver said, over here we call it goosebumps. In Hawaii, they called it chicken skin. So I want you to know that when our students performed, chicken skin, okay, it was very, very exciting. And here the Southfield staff and Miss Robinson and her husband and my husband, he's Southfield staff, also, just by default. And these are our students as they were preparing to go and perform. And I want you to notice the young lady with the flag. We have the flag here. Two of our young ladies who are on the dance team, they performed flag routines while the band was playing. Look at all those children. Look at all those children. And they were arranged by instrument. And it was just amazing. Go back. Okay. Oh, now I clicked, it didn't work for me, but it might work. She said click the image of the video. I tried, I know I'm a little, see? Okay, I'm sorry. Go back one more time, Mr. Smith said, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
In the background, you see the monument, that's over, memorial, that's over the U.S. Arizona. You can't see it from that picture, but an aerial view, you can see the actual ship that entombs all of the young men and women that did not have an opportunity to even wake up. It went down immediately upon the bombing. The other thing we wanted to add, once we did go to that exact monument. On our way to going over on a boat, we actually got to watch a film. They did not cut anything out of the film. It was eye-opening.
Devastating.
Yes, very devastating, to the degree that the things went. The day before that, we did receive the directives that the Japanese president was coming to the event, so he only gave 1 day notice, and then he did come, but they in and out that morning, so that was breathtaking. If you get a chance to go to Hawaii, please, you will feel, and you can smell the oil still coming up.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, again, as I told you, tells us what to wear every day. So on the next day, we all wore our Michigan gear. It could be a team or a professional team or school. And so we all sported that. Again, we could spot our babies wherever we went. Then we had a 3-hour bus tour, thank goodness, because it rained that day. And we saw many things, including the home that Michelle and Barack Obama have purchased that they're going to live in. And we saw quite a few very interesting sights. We left exhausted, but as Mrs. Thomas put, we will never be the same. We've made and been part of history. And thank God we came back on Saturday before the snow. So thank you again. I'm going to let a few students, come on, DH. I'm going to let you talk. Okay. I'm going to let this young lady speak about the importance of it to her, Ms. Wells.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Deasia Wells. I've been going to Levy for all 3 years, and I've been in the band for all 3 years as well. As Dr. T said before, we've been preparing for a year and a half. So that's ever since I was in, well, my late 6th grade year and my early 7th grade year, all the way up to now. And I mean, just me being a part of the band so much and seeing how much that we work and how much effort that we put in to going to Hawaii, all the fundraisers, the extra practices, and you know, just us working together as a team is very, you know, exciting to know that it's all paying off, especially with going on a once-in-a-lifetime trip like Hawaii with so many of my friends, so many of my family as well. With us just going to Hawaii, it was a huge deal for us, and then with us playing with high school students, even though that, you know, we believe that we on their level, because, you know, we are. But with us playing with high school students, and with us being in middle school, or us being labeled middle school, because as I said, we're on their level. With us being labeled middle school, and being the only middle school to even get invited or accepted, just made it even better. And it just made us work harder, and we were exposed to a lot of things, and the trip was very important to me, and I know to all the 8th graders, because this is our last year. So, you know, this is what really counts. And, you know, just all the hard work paying off, and, you know, it's you know, yeah, it's Hawaii, so you can't really pass that up. So yeah, that is just really important. Great.
One more young man, then we'll move on, Mr. Smith. Then we'll go to that.
Good. All right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Alexander Gooden, and I also feel like this is a very special trip because it took a lot of practice and effort. But also, I just felt like it was important because there was a lot of men and women who died on Pearl Harbor or at Pearl Harbor, and Mr. Smith told me that the life expectancy of a gunner on a ship is a 3-day expectancy. You're supposed to die on the 3rd day, but you're supposed to kill as many soldiers as you can throughout those 3 days. And I thought that was crazy. I never expected something would be that serious, but it is, and I couldn't imagine being in that situation. But it was like soldiers my age, 14 years old, that were fighting on the front lines, and yeah, it was amazing. But the Pearl Harbor survivors were 14 years old when they were fighting, or at least one of them were. But it was pretty serious. It was a serious moment in history. I also feel like I also feel like it's very important that we played our best and we did the best we could, and we did, we were pretty amazing, but it was fun, to me at least. I mean, it was super fun.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all I gotta say,
Aloha. Good evening. The student said it all, so I'll keep it short and sweet. A wise man once told me, never forget to say thank you. There are so many people that paved the way to make sure that we were able to go on this trip. And Ms. Thomas is doing our thank you notes, going out to all of the parents that helped us, parents that attended the trip, parents that did not attend the trip, that helped behind the scene. So many names, but in particular, there are a couple people I want to publicly acknowledge. Mayor Ken Sivers, for your donation and help and wise words. The Board of Education, of course, for supporting us. My family, my wife, my boss, Dr. T, keeping us on track, and the students, because this is their band. I'm just a means to help move along with the organization. But Southfield Public Schools is the greatest school district in the world. I thank you all.
I'd just like to say thank you to Mrs. Smith for organizing such a beautiful trip. It was so well organized. The kids did not have a boring moment nor a dull moment each day. They had activities planned for them every day of the tour. So they had a chance to visit a lot, tour a lot, and to learn a lot. Each bus driver we drove with gave us a history lesson of every place that we visited. So the kids learned a lot. And like I said, it was a well-organized trip, and it was wonderful. We received so many compliments about how well-behaved our students were, from the people in Pearl Harbor, the airline stewardess, and the restaurant. They said, where are these kids from? They're so well-behaved. They were shocked. And I said, they're from Southfield, Michigan. This is what we do here. We have great kids, okay? So it was fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Smith, for a job well done.
Okay. Ms. Tori Maas from the University High School Academy is here. She received an award from the Comerica Bank, and she's here to share more information with us.
Yes, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Comerica Bank hosted a contest called Tools for Schools. They chose one teacher from Oakland, Wayne, and Macomb counties to receive $2,000 worth of school supplies. So if you know me, you know I enter everything. So I knew that we needed additional Chromebooks because some of our students, I have upperclassmen, I'm doing the AP Capstone program, and it's heavily research-based. They need access to scholarly journals, to online publications. And so to sort of level the playing field, I wanted everyone to be able to have a device. And so I applied. 2 weeks ago, I was pulled out of class very briefly for something that I felt I could have just been emailed about. So I got a little suspicious, but then the days went on, nothing happened. So I said, that was odd. Came in the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, the Tuesday before Thanksgiving break, and they marched in with 10 Chromebooks. The students were in on it. They had signed releases and kept the secret for 3 days. So we were all very, very excited. And I know this is supposed to be about me right now, but I just wanted to acknowledge two of my students that are actually here. They're always looking for opportunities as well. One of them is your student board rep, Jolena, who earned 3rd place in the American Legion speech contest. So I just wanted to recognize her. And then also Lyndon Defoe. Lyndon, if you could stand. Lyndon was here last year. He was the Poetry Out Loud Michigan State champion. So I have a couple updates on Lyndon. Lyndon is going back to states this spring. And then he also won first place in the American Legion Oratorical Contest just a couple of weeks ago. And then, as if that weren't enough, we found out, I just found out today, I couldn't believe he didn't tell me. He found out Friday that he was admitted to Stanford University.
Way to go.
So it's not really about me, it's about them. Yes. And they just make it possible for me to do exciting things and give them the tools that they need. So thank you for having me here this evening.
Thank you.
We also have students from the University High School Academy that recently participated in the National Society of Black Engineers Junior Conference. Dean Marcia Williams, I think, is here to provide us more information, or a representative.
Well, good evening, all.
Good evening.
Okay, we're going to try it again. Good evening, all.
Good evening.
Okay, that's a little better. I'm not going to have y'all all night. I know what time of the hour it is. Well, on behalf of UHSA and UHSPA, I am Tiffany Hackworth. I am one of 3 sponsors for the National Society of Black Engineers, along with Ms. Dixon, and we are representing that group as well as our school and our Dean, Marcia Williams, and Assistant Dean, Mr. Harry Patton. For those of you that know me, I don't like to spend too much time up here. I really like it in the hands of my students. They can tell you about the program, what they did, but for those of you who are new, this is our 4th year with the program, and I will tell you something at the end after they present to you all. Good evening to the board. Good evening to everyone. Thank you all so very much for having us here. I'm going to allow the students to tell you why they are here. We have the UPrep team. They will go first, and then our high school, UHSA, explain to you why we're here this evening. And we'll start.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Opio Jubinair. This is
Amber Maxwell.
And this is and we're going to be talking about what we did at our NSBE conference in Chicago. At the NSBE conference in Chicago, we did a lot of fun activities and had a great time. First, we went on a tour of Northwestern University. It was a great experience. They had a lot of things that we did there, and we met a lot of students there. They had a lot of subjects that you can major in, and overall, it was a great experience. The next day in the morning was competition time. The 8th graders had a competition called Math Counts. The maths that we took place in were Algebra 1 and Geometry. There were a lot of story problems, but it wasn't difficult. My team got first place in the math competition, and the other 8th grade team, thank you, and the other 8th grade team got second. After the competition, we went to many different workshops. Some workshops were about engineering and math, and others were about how we can make our communities better. They were very interactive. One of our workshops were.
One workshop we had was a jelly bean bridge contest. So we had built a building out of jelly beans and toothpicks, and it was the deeper meaning of it was team building, because we had different people doing different things to bring forth the team effort. And as we did that, we all came together and we learned more about each other, and we learned how to be a better team. So the NSBE conference was really great.
So that's basically some of the things that we did at our NSBE conference in Chicago, and now I'm going to pass it on to the high schoolers to tell what they did.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Tola Perladele. I'm here with my teammates John Sloan, Timmy Tayo Oyerlade, and Kyle Walker to talk about what we did over the trip to Chicago. The first day of the trip, we had a lot of fun. First thing we did was we went to the Shed Aquarium. After that, we went to a museum and then the Navy Pier. After spending some time at the Navy Pier, we returned to the hotel for some well-needed rest. The next day, we took a trip to Northwestern University. Though it was raining on the day that we went, we were able to see much of the campus. We were also able to talk to current students, and we were able to visit a class that was in session.
Hello. As previously stated, my name is John Sloan, and I'm going to be talking about the test that we had to take for the competition. The first test that we took, they split us up individually. So on the test, we all, wait, I'm sorry.
Take your time.
On the test, it was pretty easy throughout the whole thing. We had some hard problems, but we got through that. I'm pretty sure some of the questions we got through because of the courses that we are taking in UHSA currently, such as AP Statistics. After that test, we went out to take a little break, very small break, and then we went back into the room and took a group test. On that group test, I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty hard, but it was basically physics, but since we're 10th graders, we didn't know anything about physics because we didn't take the class, et cetera, et cetera. So we, I feel like we bombed it, but we got through it because we got into the top 6 teams, which Teo will tell you about.
As previously stated, my name is Temitayo Oyalade, and I will be talking about the quiz bowl portion of the test. After the paper portion of the test, the top 6 highest scoring teams were then placed into a Jeopardy-style quiz bowl. The scores from the quiz bowl would then be added to the paper version of our test, and then those scores would then determine the overall winners of the competition. In this quiz bowl, we had many different topics, such as the Black history of engineers, algebra, geometry, and many other math operations / topics. Prior to and after the quiz bowl, we were able to communicate with other teams in order to relieve us of our doubts, congratulate each other, and even get to know each other better. In the beginning portion of the quiz bowl, there were some technical difficulties as the algorithm was like a little messy, but we managed to pull through and tie for first with another team of 11th and 12th graders.
To reinstate, my name is Kyle Walker, and I would like to tell you guys how we prepared going into our regional conference and how we'll work to further improve for nationals. So for our regional conference, we prepared by doing SAT problems and 10 Marks, which is a online math program to help improve our skills. And going in, we assumed that we may have trouble with physics and some NSBE history, and our assumptions were correct as that's where we struggled mostly at. And then afterwards, we figured out that to prepare for nationals, we need to work more on our physics and to do more ACT and SAT practice. And our goal for nationals is to win first place in our division.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so like I said, I'm one of 3 sponsors. Dr. Banks is not here. For those who know that Dr. Banks, she's also one of the sponsors. And you see Ms. Fatima Dixon, who was also here, who was new to our team. You heard the boys or the gentlemen say already for their team that they want to prepare for physics. She is going to be preparing them for that in that particular area. And I will be working on the test taking strategies for the math portion for them to be more prepared as they go. Our team competes in 4 areas. What you heard is only 2 of the areas. We compete in the math. There's a lower and an upper division, and actually there's 3 divisions of math. It's the U-Prep, which is the middle school. We have a lower, which is 9 and 10, and then there's a high school. The high school upper division is, of course, 11th and 12th grade. And with the boys, if you didn't catch this, the gentlemen, I shouldn't say boys, but one of our teams said is that they competed against the juniors and seniors The first round in regional, they do compete as a whole high school team. So they're competing against juniors and seniors, and they're competing against people who, as you've heard them state, are already in AP stats, AP calc, AP physics, general physics, all the physics courses and the such. So they did quite well for some 10th grade students to compete against 11th and 12th grade students in this particular area. So I just want to clap it up for them. I don't want to prolong the time, but I just want to thank you all for supporting us. I want to congratulate you all, did very well, and they didn't tell you that they were like, physics is on there, they came out best, wasn't the greatest, but they persevered. When they walked out that second round in that room, I saw John come running out that door. We tied for first, and I said, we tied for first, and all I was thinking to myself is, I remember you all complaining. I said, there were juniors and seniors. Yeah, it was juniors and seniors. We competed. I said, yes. So that just proves that you all are able to do it. So just, I asked if you would encourage them, if you believe in praying, if you don't mind. Just, the safety. We want to make sure that they have opportunities to be able to have exposures outside of the building. You've heard that they go outside of competitions. They tour campuses. They're learning about Black history, engineering. It's more than just a competition. You've heard they have conversations with the other teams. It's really a friendly environment. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the support. Hopefully you don't have any questions, but if you do, they're going to answer.
We do. Ms. Hackworth, are the parents of these young scholars here?
Yes,
And
and
if they are,
please
and be
stand.
recognized.
Woo! Absolutely. So I typically shout out my parents, and I didn't tonight, but I thank them as they came in the door. Huge, huge thank you. Thank you, Ms. Dixon. Oh, Ms. Dixon probably could have, she didn't want to say it, but we do have a fundraiser to help us go to nationals so that they can continue and place first for the middle, lower, and the upper division of math. And the other two competitions are two robot competitions that we compete, which we do in nationals. So they are spread very thin. They have to utilize their time wisely because they have the middle school do math and they compete on the robot, and the high school compete in the lower math, the upper math, and they also have their own challenge for the robot in the car. Friday, having said that, we have our own fundraiser right at Fuddruckers down the street. We love to see you all from 4 to 8. Please feel free to stop in and make mention so that we can have additional funds so we can get these young people to nationals in March.
Okay, question.
You got a question?
Do we need a flyer? Do we need a flyer when we go to Fuddruckers?
Yes. Do you have any flyers with you? We can email you that directly if you don't mind.
Okay, that's fine. And you said it's March or Nationals?
Nationals is March 27th through April 2nd. I think I have those dates just going off the top of my head correct.
Okay. Where?
We're going to be going to Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay.
Yes, we have a long ride, and it's usually about flight. It's about 23 students and at least 3 adults. So, thank you all. Did we get everything?
Thank you,
Tiffany.
Thank you.
Please email the flyer.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'd like to recognize Mr. Dennis Gregory, who recently received certification from the Michigan School Business Officials. Mr. Gregory's not here tonight, but we'd like to recognize him for his contributions to the district. Moving on. Next, we'll have report of the student board representatives. And tonight we'll start with Mariah Calhoun.
Hello to the Board of Education, Superintendent, administrators, staff members, and community. My name is Mariah Calhoun, and I am a member of Southfield Student Council, Business Professionals of America, and Principals Council.
My name is Maya Ford, and I'm a member of the Marching Band, National Honor Society, and the IB program.
It is our honor and privilege to be Southfield A&T's board representatives for the 2016-2017 school year. Here's our Warrior Report.
On November 29th, 14 people were inducted into the National Honor Society at A&T. Tierra Moore, Jayla Stevens, Justin Flonnery, Jacob Rosen, Maya Ford, Tatiana Hunter, Destiny Williams, Justin Hicks, Aaron Manning, Tamara Riss Harrison, India Pfizer, Quentin Bell, and Alexis Williams. Congratulations to all the new NHS inductees. On December 8th, our very own board representatives, Mariah Calhoun and Maya Ford, participated in the Veterans of Foreign Wars essay competition. Maya came in second place, winning a $75 scholarship, and Mariah came in first, winning a $100 scholarship. Mariah now goes on to compete in the state level, and we all wish her the very best. 96 ninth graders, 137 10th graders, 176 11th graders, and 213 seniors students made the honor roll for the first card marking at A&T. Congratulations to all of our honor roll students. In total, the 662 honor roll students make up 37% of the school's population. Parent-teacher conferences were held on November 16th. Parents received their children's report cards and were able to discuss them with their teachers. On December 7th, Southfield A&T held our first annual lip sync battle. Seniors imitated a variety of artists such as Eminem, Big Sean, Aaliyah, Chris Brown, and Ariana Grande, and many more. Students had a blast and are already looking forward to next year's battle.
Southfield A&T is the recipient of a 2017 Target Field Trip Grant. Warrior Cafe, under the direction of Miss Moss, donated 4 cakes, 10 sweet potato pies, and 96 cupcakes to the Genesis House, a women and children's shelter, for Thanksgiving. $330 was also raised by staff and students for food purchases for the shelter. On December 8th, Southfield A&T Student Council Committee chairs attended an OAA meeting and were able to bond with organizations from other schools, as well as gain fundraiser, activity, and spirit ideas for the school. Shop with the Cop is this Friday, December 16th. Officer Wamble is taking 4 students to shop for this Christmas holiday. Wrestling Warriors have started the 2016 season 5-1 and won the Birmingham Grove Super Duels over the weekend. The wrestling team will host the 61st annual Oakland County Championships this Friday. Things are moving in the right direction at Southfield High School for the Arts and Technology. Thank you to the Board of Education, Superintendent, administrators, staff members, and community for giving us your time. This concludes our Warrior Report.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we'll have from the University High School Academy, Ms. Jolina Chiangong.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name is Jolina Chiangong, and I attend University High School Academy. I'm president of National Honor Society, captain of the debate team, delegate for Student Congress, and involved in numerous other organizations. So for honorary mentions, I would just like to say another congratulations to Lyndon Defoe, Mrs. Moss, and our UHSA NSBE team. You can see that students and staff at the U are truly doing great things everywhere that they go. So another round of applause for all of them. So of recent, University just had our annual leadership night, and students who are involved in any organization at University were able to learn how to become better leaders. So with that, we had actually our students do a charity, well not a charity, but a community service act where they made family bathroom charity bags, and this was donated to the organization called DRAW, which is Disaster Relief at Work, and they made all of these bags together to create an impact outside of just our school. And then the students also participated in 4 workshops titled The Followership Theory, Taking Care of You, Embracing Change, and tips to becoming a successful leader during this fun and enriching event. So I was there, I really enjoyed it, and you could see us really becoming better leaders, which felt like in seconds. So it was really great to have that. And then of recent, our seniors traveled to U of M Ann Arbor to learn about scholarships and college majors, and it also featured a panel from actual UHSA alumni who gave us more advice about potential majors, and also did a question and answer session with our group, so that was really fun. And then on December 5th, University High School also had our National Honor Society induction, and we inducted 41 new members because students at the U are truly striving for excellence, and we were glad to have Trustee Joyce actually attend, which was great to have him there. So that was a really great and successful event. And then afterwards, we are actually starting our fine arts music program at the U. It's finally been launched, and students will be able to participate in jazz band, vocal music, and the mixed music ensemble as well. And this is a really good addition to our dance program, which we have also started, and it gives our students to get a break from just academics, but really engage in fine arts at university. So we look forward to that. And then moving forward, our seminar leaders, as you know, we have senior students called seminar leaders, which lead discussions for 8th through 11th grade students. More of learning how to be a better student leader, because we're all about leadership at university. And so this past month we had Habit 4, which was called Think Win-Win. And this focused on teaching students how to just generally think as team players, because we have to learn that, you know, we have to think about ourselves, but also be there to help and assist the success of others. So that was really good to teach us to have a balance of self-motivation and motivating other students as well. So coming up, events that are coming up are that we have our student versus staff basketball game on December 23rd. Hopefully the students are able to win this year. And then our UHSA 5K Club is continuously planning to have our second annual 5K race, which is raising awareness for lupus. It's very important. And for our community work at the U, university students throughout this past month volunteered numerous times at Oak Grove AME Church, where they helped to spread a lot of holiday spirit. So the Student Congress, we actually did where we adopt a family, and we adopted 5 children of the same family, and each graduating class had delegates who had to get clothes and toys and other items for those students. And at the end of the event at the church, they were able to go there, distribute the gifts, and a lot of them came back refreshed, because you truly begin to value and see how grateful we are, especially when you just simply see the smiles of other people. So it was really like a refreshing and just an eye-opener for our students to see how much we really have. And to conclude that for holiday season, students also visited the Losser Hills Care Center, and they did Christmas carols. So everyone there really enjoyed it. It was really fun, and again, just shows how important it is for us to be involved in our community. So it concludes my Eagle report, and go Eagles.
Thank you. Mr. Matthew Vaughn from the Southfield Regional Academic Campus was unable to attend this evening. With that, we'll have the report from our superintendent, Dr. Linda Wood.
Thank you, Board President, and good evening, Board and our community. And I am always in awe of the presentations from our students, as well as the gifts and talents that they share with us. And when I hear about all of their work, I'm just always encouraged by the teachers that are here this evening, as all evenings that we present, that are supporting our kids and the tremendous gifts that you have. But one of the things that I also wanted to share this evening is that we are in a period where there's a lot of exciting and festive time, holiday parties and concerts and all of these wonderful events that mark the season and cause us to reflect on all the wonderful things that we have been given to enjoy. It is important to spend time with the people in your life who are dear to you. Our relationships with each other are so vitally important. And so all of our students and families here in Southfield Public Schools are very important to myself and to the board and to our staff. And staying connected is so critical. It's important that we are able to connect with all of our parents, whether it's via phone, email, because I don't want an emergency to occur and not be able to reach one of the most important people in the lives of our children. And so I'd like to put a special plea that for our parents to make a concerted effort to ensure that the correct email, home address, cell phones, and I know the cell phones kind of change periodically. So I just need you to help us stay in touch. And because we want you connected. And so I'm thanking you in advance for assisting us. You and your child are very valuable. Just as I said our parents are invaluable, on Saturday, November 19th, we held our first district-wide parent university. It was the beginning of a very special series that will continue this year. There were tremendous learning for our parents, vendors with gifts, great giveaways. We gave away food cards for Myers, just wonderful gifts. And for those who were in attendance, you know there was a lot of food and much more for everyone that was there. I'd like to, at this moment, give you a glimpse of that special day.
Find somebody in your school setting as a social worker, a teacher, a counselor, a principal, a custodian, somebody that says, you know what, I'm going to put my arm around this child and love him or her and see her through, regardless. We can't do it by ourselves. We need somebody there to assist with that.
What does the term resilient mean? When I open up, when we open up and have conversation, we say, what have you overcome? And then when you say different things, we take those words that I put up there from last session to this session, your school, empathy, discipline, effort, time, family, those combine, all those things combine to help build and shape resilience.
It's like, why is it that kids are so engrossed when they're playing a game versus doing an actual worksheet? Because there's challenge there, there's a struggle there, and the apps can provide that, and the kids don't even know that they're learning.
Each one of these apps, we strongly encourage you to go through it first and see what in that app you need for your child.
This app is really good, it's free, iOS and Android. You install it on your device and on the child's device. It'll give you a report, you can set controls. This element on top is hydrogen, and so it's showing inside the block that this is a gas, so the kids can learn, and this is good for all grade levels. Log into the grade level that your kid is in. So right now I'm going to log into a second grade one here. I'm going to click what it says here to do. When I click to do, or when your child logs in, they're going to see a screen that looks like this. And there's always a mini lesson, so watch that first. Just taking it from mommy, huh?
Well, she loves video games anyway, so this right here would be right up her alley. I'll probably never get her off of it.
And you know what? It's good because it's just a different format.
You pull one first. Who pulled my name? You pulled my name? Thanks, boo.
Our world, our children, social media is impacting not only their social world, but their educational world. And we want to make it for the better. We want to make it so that it's a very positive thing. And so this opportunity this morning to talk about technology, to talk about the apps, to learn more about how all of this is impacting their learning is critical. Because as you understand how it's impacting your learning, then at home you can keep asking those right questions.
Thank you. I wanted to say that we had a tremendous set of staff members who supported this effort. I'm very proud of them. I know that Alma Dean is in the back, and she was a key spearheader in helping to orchestrate this. But I have to say that one of the outcomes from many of the comments that we received from our parents, the apps were wonderful, the technology is wonderful, but how to be a parent, the whole piece about resiliency, all of those affective elements that are so critical is what we're going to have a whole session about, because that was what a lot of the comments were. So we have more to come as it relates to our parenting and our parenting university. I'd like to move into the next report, and that is from Thompson Middle School. I think many of you board members are familiar with the work of Sandra Shackelford over at Thompson. Recently, Sandra, Ms. Lightsey, and students from Thompson visited Blue Cross Blue Shield. When I first saw, I couldn't go, so when I saw the video, I was just moved by what these students were saying. They're telling the truth. They're inspiring me. They're inspiring us. And so I'd like for Paula Lightsey to come to the podium. I believe she's still here. They are amazing, and what they said is so powerful. Share a little bit, Paula, before we show the video.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Wood, cabinet, and the audience. I'm the principal at Thompson K-8, very proud of my students. And a group of students were asked to present at a conference of 600 people. It was a Beaumont diversity conference. And they wanted our students to kick off the whole event. And so they did a piece called, I Am Not a Label. And many of you have probably seen I Am Not a Label on the news or on YouTube, but they put their spin on it. It is moving. If you have a clip, do we have a clip?
We do.
It is moving. The kids work so hard. The work that Sandra Shackelford does with our students, she truly brings out the best in them. And these aren't kids that all receive A's and B's or 1s and 2s, but she goes in and brings out the gift. And so if you can show it at this time, that would be helpful.
Yes.
We have with us the Voices of Tomorrow Leaders Program, Thompson K-8 International Academy. These students are being empowered to use their voice to speak their truth.
I am not afraid to do what's right, even if I am the only person doing it. People don't always remember what you did, but they do remember how you made them feel.
I pledge to reach my goals and to never give up. Change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for.
I am not black. Yes, that's what the world calls me. But I did not come out of my mother's womb saying, hey everybody, I'm black. Who we truly are is not skin deep.
I just want to ask you one question. Who would you be if the world never gave you a label?
These labels will forever blind us from seeing a person for who they truly are.
Every war has started over labels.
It's always us versus them.
In a perfect world, people will finally be judged. Everyone will finally be judged based on the content of their character.
We may have different languages and different colored skin, but we all belong to one human race.
Diversity
It's not about how we differ. It is about how we embrace one another's uniqueness.
We are more than a label.
Not only did they present that piece, but Beaumont Hospital donated $1,000 to the work and to that team. So they're doing phenomenal things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Lightsey, and please share with Ms. Shackelford. I know that there was a conflict this evening for her, but I know that our board members, and I hope that many of our parents in the audience and staff may one time in the future hear the upcoming program that she presents with these kids. It's just overwhelming, and I have sat in several of them as the first time I saw this video, and tears came to my eyes as I felt the truth that our children are speaking. And so thank you again.
If you want an event that opens your heart, you have to bring a box of Kleenex, because you will not leave without feeling your emotions come up. It is a phenomenal event, and it happens every year in May. So thank you.
The power of a teacher.
Absolutely.
Extracting that from our kids. Very good.
Thank you.
Well, I am not a label. Well, the next presentation I'd like to share and present is from Ms. Pamela Bard, and she represents a whole group of students that often live their life with a label. But she's going to come and present some information that we have to, because we want to make sure that our disproportionality in the area of special ed is attended to and reported on. And so thank you, Ms. Bard, for sharing this data.
Good evening, board, and cabinet, and Dr. Wood, and community. This is so fitting to come right after you and Thompson. This is so fitting because so often our students in special education have labels, and they are identified by their labels. So tonight, what I want to show you is the core of what IDEA is about. I have come to you on several occasions talking about the programs, talking about where we have moved programs from one building to the other. I have come to you before talking about the finance, but tonight I will present to you the core of what special education is about. And it's about Part B, which is about the students who have IEPs from age 3 to 21, and what IDEA is requiring all school districts in Michigan to pay attention to, and that is how we are identifying our students. Okay, so we talked about what is disproportionality, and disproportionality in definition means that we are a group of students are overrepresented, and these students are the minority. And when we talk about a minority, it's not quite in ethnicity or race. It can also be in groups of students. So it's the over-identification of a group of students. Let me give you an example. Say, for instance, we had 100 Native Americans, First Americans, enrolled in Southfield Public Schools. 90 of them were in general education without IEPs. 10 of them with IEPs. However, of those 10 students with IEPs were suspended for more than 10 days. Follow me. And of the 90 students who do not have IEPs, only 10 were suspended for more than 10 days. That means that those 10 students with IEPs, that was 50% of those students with IEPs were suspended for more than 10 days, as opposed to 11.11% of those students suspended. So tonight, what I want to show you is how disproportionality really makes an impact, not only for those students with IEPs, but for the district as well. Because it will make an impact not only for financial reasons, but how we identify the students in different categories. Let me show you this. This is what IDEA is actually saying, and IDEA means Individual with Disabilities Education Act. And this is a federal standard or regulations in regarding students who are in Part B. And those Part B are those students from age 3 to 21 who are receiving special education services, programs, identifications, services. Now, we can be disproportionate in how we identify these students. That means that in the identification of students, how we are identifying these students, are we using a variety of different methods to identify these students? Or are we just using certain measurements, just 1 or 2 measurements? IDEA says that we must use a variety of methods in identifying our students who we suspect as having a disability. Another area that we can be disproportionate is how we identify these students in particular categories. This means there are 13 areas that students can be determined as having disabilities. However, are we over-identifying students with autism? Are we over-identifying students who are cognitively impaired, learning disabled, speech and language impaired? That's another area that we can be over-identifying students. Another area that we can be disproportionate is how we place students. Are we placing an over-representation of students in certain programs as opposed to other programs? But this is the next step. The fourth bullet is where Southfield Public Schools have been dinged in identifying students and as being suspended for more than 10 days. In the last 4 or 5 years, we have gone through different processes to really understand why, who, and where these students are. But before I go into the data, I want to show you the different groups that can be identified as having a minority identification. And as you see, African Americans, the First Americans, Asians, Hispanics, Latino, white, Native Hawaiian, other Pacific Islanders, are those students who are identified as having 2 or more races. Any one of those categories can be a minority. Another area that can be a minority are the areas that we determine as students being eligible for special education services. And as you see, autism, cognitively impaired, emotionally impaired, other health impaired, specific learning disabilities, and speech. About 10 years ago, Southfield was found as disproportionate in the number of students who were identified as cognitively impaired. 10 years ago, not only in that category, cognitively impaired, we were found disproportionate in how we identified those students who were cognitively impaired. We had to make some corrections in that. So throughout the years, we had to make adjustments, corrections, and how we identified students, not only in these categories, but in other categories as well. But tonight, our main focus is discipline. For the last 4 years, we have gone through different steps in identifying students who are being suspended for more than 10 days. The first step, we were focus monitored in 2 categories. One category was we were suspending more students disproportionately, students with IEPs as compared to students without IEPs. So therefore, we were suspending more students proportionately who had IEPs for more than 10 days. That's one category. The second category that we were suspending, we were found disproportionate in the number of students who were African American with IEPs as compared to African Americans without IEPs. I'll let that sit for a while. Or repeat that. That means that African American students with IEPs were suspended over and above those students, African American students, who did not have IEPs. So throughout that process, we had to review files, interview staff, interview administrators, and make adjustments in how we identify violations for these suspensions. That was one step. Another step that we did, we monitored all students for a whole year, all students, general education students and students with IEPs throughout the whole year, to determine what were the areas, what were the violations that were had a more higher rate. We found that most students were suspended because of cell phones, dress code, being tardy. What? Those violations were higher than fighting, being having weapons. Let that marinate. So here we are, a district who were suspending students with IEPs for having cell phones, dress code violations, and being tardy. As a result of that, we had to back up and have conversations with administrators to really understand what was really happening. As we dug deeper into the data, we found out that perhaps there were different reasons. There were a higher frequency of 6th graders being suspended and a higher frequency of 9th graders being suspended. And this was across the board. As a result, we had several meetings all last year with certain administrators, and this was a toolkit that you see, to really understand what is it in the buildings that is happening. We found that as a result of the toolkit initiative, the student code of conduct was interpreted in one building differently than in another building. So therefore, a fight in one building would get 3 days, whereas a fight in another building probably would get 5. And this was across the board, not only for students with IEPs, but also those students without IEPs. So as a focus group, we had a lot of information to really develop a plan of action. The second step that the district had to address, because we had 2 years consecutively as being disproportionate in suspensions and expulsions, 15% of the grant had to be set aside for general education purposes. Now let that marinate. Now, if you know how much the grant is, that's a large chunk of change, which had to be set aside for general education purposes. And at this point, because of the data that we developed throughout the year, the previous year, we're using those funds to identify those ninth graders in the areas of attendance, behavior, and credits. And hopefully, after we intervene with these students, we will have a better profile in decreasing the number of students, especially in the ninth grade, those transitional years. Those sixth graders and those ninth graders will have a decreased rate of suspensions, especially as they transition into the middle school and the high school. Let me back up again. Another thing that we found with that data, we found that those students who were attending the K-8 buildings and were sixth graders did not have a higher rate of suspensions as opposed to those students in K-5 buildings. That's another area that we found as being significant. We also found out through gathering all the data, we had a higher number of students transferring into the district. And these transfer students who were in sixth grade and eighth and ninth grade had a higher rate of suspensions. And we tried to dig deeper to have a better understanding of what that really meant. As we had conversations with administrators, and they knew their students, it was a better understanding of, they came to us with a different set of culture, expectations that did not really align with the expectations of Southfield. So we needed to change how we react to these violations and have a better way of identifying how we will provide opportunities for these students to reflect their misconduct once they're returned back from their suspension. So there's a lot of conversations that administrators during the toolkit process we developed, and I'll show you the plan. The third area that we must are required is to report to you, as I'm doing tonight, as far as what the data is saying. Let me show you some more data. Let me show you this. This time last year, there were 1,168 suspensions, and this is all students. We looked at the data from December of 2014. December 2014, there were 300 less days of suspensions as opposed to December of 2015. They're increasing. As of April of this year, we had 2,358 cumulative suspensions. If you translate that into hours, you can see how much instructional time has been lost due to suspensions. If you look at that, the enrollment at that time was about 6,500 students enrolled. That meant that a third of the students had been suspended for at least one day. One day. A third of the students, one day. This is data based on Michigan. So I showed you the days in Southfield, but across Michigan through those years, look at the lost days of instruction. And African American students are being suspended, whether they have an IEP or not, more than any other minority group in Michigan. A letter came out to the colleagues from the federal government indicating that Michigan must get their act together, especially when it comes to these numbers. And so the local districts who are being disproportionate in their suspensions are being held accountable for, to put processes in place to decrease these numbers of instructional days lost. And especially how we're going to address our African American students who are being suspended disproportionately. When we came back to the toolkit, we developed this problem. And the problem is the district discipline policies and practices as they relate to suspension and expulsions impact the loss of instructional time. We want our students to be in school, but because of the practices that have been historically implemented, it's not making an impact on the students being in school at their desk in front of a teacher. And when we talk about school failure by definition means that the graduation rate is low, it's not at the state target, and in particular those students with IEPs. The state target for students with IEPs for graduation is anything equal to or above 80%. In Southfield, those students with IEPs, the percentage of graduation is 69%. And there are different factors that are making an impact on that low percentage. So as a result, these are the steps that the focus group developed. First, we must have a committee to revise and develop the measure of this plan. And then we looked at the student code of conduct. Yes, there are some things in the student conduct is relevant. Yes, there are some things in the student conduct that we must address, but it is functional and it must be implemented consistently across the district. It can be interpreted in one way in one building. In another building, it could be interpreted a different way. So our goal is to look at that student code of conduct and determine how we can implement it with fidelity across the district. Another area of the plan is to develop behavior supports throughout the district at the preschool level, elementary, middle, and at the high school level. Yes, preschool. Yep. I'm seeing kindergartners come in here, come enrolled with very significant behavior problems. I see transfer students and some of our students who've been here for a while who come with significant emotional and psychological and psychiatric problems. So we must have a plan in place to really address how we will support the behaviors. Another initiative, we must create a learning warning system with the students, especially for administrators to really have some plans in place to really understand how to identify at-risk students and have practices in place within the building to address. There are different programs out there. We're looking at restorative justice. We're looking at PBIS throughout the district and capturing kids' hearts. Another part of the plan is to look at those transitional years, the 5th grade going into 6th, 7th, and those 8th to 9th grade students. What are we doing to really make an impact on those transitional years? And above all, we must provide training for staff. So often when we have students with IEPs and they are placed in the general education setting, our general education teachers are placed in a very difficult position on how to address students with significant challenges with learning. Not only with learning, but now we see more behavioral difficulties. Yeah. So we're asking our general education teachers to implement an IEP that they really don't quite understand how to implement. We're asking our teachers, both general education and special education teachers, to put practices in place and behavioral supports for students who may not quite understand. There are environmental factors that are coming into the district that makes an impact on the classroom. So we need a plan to train staff that's on a research-based model so that we could be better prepared to address students with not only learning difficulties, but also with behavioral difficulties. And the purpose is, for all of this, is to ensure that instructional time is there, where if we address behaviors, we will increase the learning. Where there's difficulty in behaviors and adjustment, there's difficulty in learning. Yeah. The second one is, again, provide training. All of this is important, not only for students with IEPs, for all students, because good teaching is good teaching, whether you have a student in front of you with an IEP or a student who in gen ed just may be having some problems but not significant enough to have an IEP. It is time for us to not separate special ed with gen ed. We're all in this together. And as I come before you today, I want to ensure that as we move forward, we will address the learning styles of all students, whether they have IEPs or not. It is important that instructional time, whether it's in a resource room, an ASD room, in a general education social studies room, at gym, in the lunchroom, all of these practices, whether they're behavioral supports, or the social workers there, the speech pathologists, general education, we're all in this together. So as we put these plans in place, we must ensure that the training and the understanding is there, so we will not be disproportionate. We can no longer afford to be disproportionate. If we continue, that 15% will be taken away again and put aside for other services. And we all know special ed is expensive. And we can no longer afford to take anything away from special ed and set it aside for other measures. So I thank you for this presentation. And I am humbled to be here tonight to really let you understand how important it is that special ed, gen ed, must come together and communicate so that we no longer can be disproportionate, especially in the area of suspension. Okay. Any questions?
Not a question, just a comment. Dr. Wood, I thank you for having this presentation. As you know, and my colleagues here on the board know that this has been an area a passion of mine. And I think it's important, the financial piece, but also for our students, because we do need those wraparound services, and our students need that wraparound service, and they're not learning that they're cared for when they're just kicked out on the curb. And they're losing instructional time, as you mentioned before. So it goes hand in hand. And so I definitely value and I appreciate you having this work being done. And I look forward to more updates, and I look forward to doing my part in helping this work get pushed forward, because it's all for our kids. They need to know that they're loved, they're cared for. And one of my favorite quotes is, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And so we have to do the work of making sure our students know that we care. So thank you.
You're welcome. One of my favorite sayings, yes. If you want to go fast, go along. If you want to go far, go together.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Bard. Did you have a question about Ms. Bard? I think we have one more question.
Yeah, a few things. The first off is, can we have copies, obviously, because some of the print was a little difficult for me to see, and I'd love to digest it a little bit more offline. There was a lot of wonderful, juicy tidbits in there, not enough time today to kind of dissect, but it did not go over my head when you talked about transfers. You know, I'll stand alone perhaps, maybe with others, when I say that there's a level of pride that we have as residents of Southfield and Lathrop. And, you know, when people transfer, whether it's before or on or even after count day, you know, so I won't make this a count day issue, but when they transfer, you know, we're already probably not getting the same money for them because either they weren't here or they were here. And to come in with an attitude of less than my best is like a double slap in the face. It's like, ha, you get no money for me, and I'm going to cause you trouble. So I definitely take issue with that. And I know Mayor Brenda Lawrence, I believe Darrell Buchanan was president at the time, talked about keeping the standards high. And so I don't care if you transferred 10 years ago or 10 days ago, there's an expectation of greatness. And, you know, so that I'll get off my soapbox on that. But you said this report is required now. Is it an IDA requirement?
Yes, it is.
And is it something that's just annual, that we would have an annual report of?
It's required when we have gone through several years of being disproportionate, significantly disproportionate. And this presentation is required to let the board know and the public know that Southfield has been disproportionate for several years, and we have a plan in place to address that disproportionality.
And my last one is definitely directed at the superintendent. When we talk about like goal 8 with leadership development, when we talk about our strategic plan, I've already talked about Ms. Bard's just vacuum of information that she has up here, and I appreciate her so much, but just not just in her particular department or in her lane, but just principals to custodians you even mentioned. I mean, we have so much reach with those folks, but just having that mindset of a student with an IEP versus a student in general education, they're still my students, you know, just trying to encapsulate that, so that way when we talk about succession planning and who's going to run our buildings and who's going to be in front of the students, it should go without saying that this child is as equally important as the next kid. So that's just something for us for the future.
Absolutely.
Because it's just unacceptable, the things that we hear on the board about, you know, personnel when it comes to customer service. And so just continuing to get it right, or at least attempt to get it right. That was all I had.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pam. Okay. Our student board reps, if you'd like to leave, you're more than welcome to go and finish your homework if you'd like. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And at this time, I also want to end my section of the report by acknowledging Mr. Marks for his musicianship and his supporting us with wonderful entertainment during our reception hour, and to also say happy birthday. Okay, I'd like to continue with Cabinet, Ms. Hall.
Good evening. The personnel action report, of course, is contained in the consent agenda under action items. But I also want to report this evening that today we started our first committee collaboration, and we closed up before, and we had a team of approximately 15 employees of the various groups across the district to come together here in the boardroom and start talking about healthcare and collaborative mode and understanding where the district stands right now and where we want to plan to go for the future. So it worked very well, and I'll continue to report as we continue to meet.
I have nothing beyond what's in the action items report tonight.
Board members and community. This evening, we have two reports from curriculum and instruction. First one will be done by Anika McEvans, who is our athletic director, and she will actually give us an update on the fall sports and what's coming in the winter.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We'll get through this quickly. Okay, so first of all, I just want to say that we had a very successful season this fall with our combined team. I know that there were some concerns in the community about how the two teams would be able to, or the two schools would be able to come together. And I'm very proud of the fact that I always say that while the instruction is the most important stuff, the athletic stuff is not only the fun stuff, but drives the culture of the building. And our young men and women did an absolutely amazing job this year of joining together. No one would know, other than the media that wants to keep talking about it, that these people came from different schools before this year by the way they played, by the way they acted. We should all be very proud of the way that they represented us this year. And it almost gave us almost a new birth and a new sense of energy that we were able to go out into the community, and really did carry over into all of our teams. This first slide here is our amazing varsity football team, one of the largest that either school has ever had, with almost 80 young men. You also see the young ladies that served as managers this year there in the front. Tim Conley, we had an 8-4 record this year. The OAA Red, we were 6-1, which means we were co-champions for football for the OAA Red. I want to say that with the merger of schools, we actually moved up a division. So for a lot of these young men, they saw competition a little bit tougher than they had seen previously. So this record, again, truly speaks volumes to the staff and to the work that the young men really put in over the summer. We also were the MHSAA district champions, fell a little bit short. That tough competition that we ran into at Division I. But again, a phenomenal season for all the young men. Had several students, their names are listed here, that were named all OAA Red Division. Had one All-State Dream Teamer in Lorenzo McCaskill. We also had several other young men that were honorable mention or other levels of All-State by the different media sources. So again, another awesome year for football this year. Our volleyball team, Coach William Reed, overall record 11-15-2. And if you keep in mind that volleyball is, 3 of 5 sets, that does encompass all of those sets. So again, a winning record for those girls. Came in 3rd place in the OAA Blue, which actually is a step up for the combined team. Had 2 young ladies named to all OAA, in Krista Blakely and Kayla Beatty. State champs featured one of our students, Morgan Albert from UHSA, as Student of the Month, and she was featured all over her clip through state champs throughout the football playoffs. So again, great job. Volleyball, I have to say, is probably one of our most equally represented programs, where we have several young ladies from both UHSA and Southfield A&T, and probably of all our teams, it's probably the one that's the most evenly matched. So again, phenomenal job of those young ladies to all come together. We had 18 young ladies on our varsity volleyball team this year. So again, that's a lot of girls. We probably had the largest volleyball team, I think, of anyone that we faced. Boys soccer, Coach Stephen Motter did a great job with the young men. Overall record 13-5, OAA Blue, 4 and 2. We were third place. Again, had several young men named to the All OAA Blue Team. And one stat that doesn't show up, or one fact that doesn't show up in the stats, we received so many compliments this year from teams that we faced about how much progress the young men have made over the past couple years, how much more competitive they were. Very proud to say we have a pretty evenly matched team, so a lot of those young men will be back. We definitely expect this program to expand moving forward. And probably also one of our most culturally diverse programs. If you were to read the geography of birthplaces of the representatives on the boys soccer team, they're a really fun and interesting group to be around, but they, again, are very culturally diverse, and the fact that they are able to put all that together and come together on a team in and of itself is an amazing feat. So great job to them this year. Our boys tennis and girls golf teams, Coach Ernie Tabor for the boys, Coach Stephen Sharp for the girls golf team, have a little bit of work to do with these two programs. It's a little tougher, our country club, so to speak, sports. Getting more of our young people involved and engaged earlier is a big part of that. It's not up here, but we actually have a partnership going with USTA where they are actually sponsoring lessons or partial lessons for students at the Southfield A&T campus. So for about $25, students can be introduced to the sport of tennis, and that's actually 6 weeks worth of lessons. So if anybody knows how expensive tennis lessons are, $25 for a 6-week session is an amazing thing, and the fact that they're hosting it at our site is part of their initiative, but also part of ours to get more kids involved. So more information will be coming out about that this year. I did want to point out one thing with our girls golf team. As you notice, we have 14 young ladies that came out for girls golf this year. The typical size of a golf program is about 6 young ladies. So the fact that we have 14, probably half of those are first-time golfers. So again, a lot of work to do, but the fact that they're coming out and participating again speaks volumes. Our sideline cheer program, girls swimming program. Our cheer program right now, it's probably the 3rd largest program we have in the Southfield A&T list of programs. They fall 3rd only to the football program and the marching band. And so our cheer program is definitely up there. We'll talk a little bit more about them when we talk about what's coming up. One of the highlights of my year, every year, is our National Signing Day. This year we had a fall signing day, and 2 young people signed Division I scholarships to move on. Deja Church to the University of Michigan and Michael Flowers to Western Michigan. Wanted to make sure I pointed out that we'll be having another signing day for football, February 1st, 2017, so mark your calendars for that date. Based on all the young men you saw earlier on the slide, we should have another record year with signers moving on to Division I and Division II programs all across the country. Winter sports, what's coming? Boys basketball, we had 1 young man named to the boys basketball top 20, and Michael Flowers, the young man that I mentioned earlier. Our wrestling program, again, is part of the student representatives. They mentioned we will be hosting the Oakland County Championships this Friday. That is one of the largest wrestling tournaments in the country, and they come back to Southfield every year because we do an absolutely awesome job. So if you have any time on Friday and want to come out and see some great wrestling, we'll be there all night. We also have 4 all-state wrestlers that'll be returning this year to our program, so we are hoping that they will continue that. Girls basketball, we'll talk about a little bit more on the next slide. Our boys swimming program, our competitive cheer program, and our sideline cheer program. Again, you notice we have all 3 levels. This year, because of the large number of competitive level girls that we had, we actually added junior varsity and freshman cheer. We now have over 100 girls in our cheer program. And when I say girls, I don't just mean bodies. I mean phenomenal athletes. These girls, that's one of the reasons that we expanded. It wasn't just to accommodate girls that wanted to cheer. It was to accommodate girls with the talent for cheer. If you've noticed, cheer is now an Olympic sport. We already had girls on college scholarships or partial scholarships on the sidelines of U of M and Michigan State that were former cheerleaders from our district, and we're really pushing these girls to compete and move on to the next level. The competitive cheer team will actually be competing this Saturday at Waterford Mott. High School for the Oakland County Championship, or Oakland County Tournament for cheer. And all of these schedules are available on our district's website under athletics. You can click on all of them. They're always updated and available, so if anybody wants to come out. Now to our amazing girls basketball team, which obviously as a combined team, again, everybody's talking about how good are they really going to be. This is just one article that's been written about them. They're named the 3rd top team in Oakland County. Just a couple highlights. I don't want to read the whole thing, but I am going to be a mom for about 5 seconds. Deja Church, last year's Michigan Co-Player of the Year in Class A and County Player of the Year, as well, is a University of Michigan signee, while there are at least 2 other Division I caliber players down the road in Alexis Johnson and my daughter, Cheyenne McEvans, who's a freshman at Southfield A&T. So, mom for 5 seconds, now I'm back to work. We also have several players returning from the Southfield team to join Deja as far as leaders in Delana Holloman and Tyler Washington. So again, should be a really exciting year for the girls. We were number 10 in the state preseason rankings. Deja was named to the Michigan Top 20. And again, Alexis Johnson and Cheyenne McEvans to the Michigan Top 100. And these are all the girls in the entire state of Michigan. So again, it should be an exciting year for our girls basketball program. We're a little small, but we're deep and quick, so. Now, future special projects that I did want to bring to the attention of the board, we have some major things coming up that we're going to need to start thinking about and planning for. Our football field is several years old and actually several years past the expected life expectancy of a field. So as a district, we need to begin thinking about ways to prepare for those renovations and or overhaul that will be needed. Our baseball and softball fields will also need to be renovated or updated in the upcoming years. And we still have some work to do as far as branding our athletic facilities with the changeover. There are certain pockets and things that we need to do to make sure that the Southfield A&T logo completely takes over all of our former Blue Jays / Lathrop Charger logos in our field house scoreboards, outdoor field scoreboards, chairs, rugs, banners, things like that. And I mention all of those because I'm not a person that brings problems without bringing solutions. I think one of the areas that we as a school district need to take a look at are our sponsorship programs. We're missing out on opportunities to generate revenue for our district. All of the surrounding districts are taking advantage of this. Due to some policies that we currently have in place in our district, we cannot. And we really need to take a strong look at this. I think that Southfield, especially, given that we have one comprehensive high school right now, is primed for this, and that all businesses around here, we are the high school to sponsor. We are the high school programs to support. Our programs are very successful, as I've just shown you some examples of that. Very highly sought after for events, very busy, very active in the community, so it makes sense for both our district as well as businesses to come out and support. Prime example, I know we were asked, Bowling Green University has signage right now at the facility. This actually is a sponsorship that predated even me. We just have continued to accept the money, quite frankly, for something that was already put in place. But if you look at it, it's $1,500 a year, and we do absolutely no work. None. They don't ask to come out and pass out anything. They don't ask to, make any presentations. They don't ask for anything other than for the banner to be hung up on the field and in the basketball gym. It's $1,500 a year. The money this year was used to help support our signing day. We had to buy some things that we didn't have before, little things like that. And so this really $1,500 really does go a long way. And just some examples of what we could generate, or as we move forward, as far as pursuing future sponsorships, we would need to review, obviously, our current board policy and collaborate on what type of systems we would need to put in place to make sure, obviously, that any ads or anything that was put up represented both the business as well as our school district in the right light. And we plan on pursuing that early 2017 with Mr. Lopez's direction. But just some potential sources. This is a very modest numbers, but $32,000 in annual sponsorship revenue could be generated by pursuing 20 field sponsors. That's 10 in each field behind each end zone on the football field at $1,000 each. If you notice the previous slide, Bowling Green pays $750. To ask $1,000 is not unreasonable. 5 scoreboard sponsors, our football scoreboard, brand new scoreboard, one of the most state-of-the-art scoreboards that our district invested in this year. For $5,000, easily a sponsor could do that. Basketball scoreboards at $3,000, softball, baseball scoreboards at $2,000. That right there is $32,000 in annual sponsorship revenue that we could easily tag with the change in policy. In addition to that, there are several field renovation grants that are out there that we're going to be looking at because we already are such a great district as far as partnering with like Southfield Youth Baseball and the youth organizations. Those are the main requirements when you try to get the field renovation grants, is that you show evidence of partnerships. We have all of that. So again, by pursuing these 2 right here, we could definitely generate a significant amount of revenue. And again, these are annual sponsorships. And typically once the businesses sponsor, the rate of them coming back for local community sponsors is actually very high. And that is pretty much where we're at right now as far as an athletic department and what we're working on. Questions? No?
No.
Is everybody just tired and ready to go? I'm just kidding.
No,
All right.
I want to thank you so much.
Thank you.
For coming and presenting to the board, and look forward to some additional recommendations. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
Through the president. A couple of years ago at NSBA, there was a athletic survey company. There's probably many of them out there, but I still think that there's some value there in capturing just a different lens in terms of our parents, and then of course in terms of the actual athletes. I was in a conversation unsolicited, as normal, as a board member, and it just pains me to think or to hear that some Lathrop students felt disenfranchised in the process. And so, you know, from our seat, things look really good and everything's ticking and talking away. But I think there's some value there that could probably be investigated a little bit further. But just surveys are always good ways to get a little bit of a feel.
Okay. Good insight. Thank you. Okay.
So my second report was at the request of the board as well regarding a Title IX overview. And so I'm going to go briefly through this and hopefully give you more insight as time progresses. And so I'm going to read this slide because it really is sort of packed. Title IX of the Education Amendments Act of 1972 is a federal law that states no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. And so this is the law of the land since 1972, and it really is about gender-based discrimination for any institution receiving federal funds. And so every school should monitor equity of educational programming and activities, not equality. So a district is not required to offer the same programming for boys and girls, but they must equitably offer programming around athletics and extracurricular activities for boys and girls. For example, the 80 students who play football, comparable to the 80 cheer plus the kids on volleyball plus the kids in softball, because football is such an expensive sport. It takes about 5 sports to actually equitably make sure that the young ladies are represented well in the athletic arena. And so it requires us to really monitor equitably what's happening between boys and girls. Similarly, around activities in the high school, if you have a man-up program, you have to have a woman-up program, because you have to invest equally in the funding for boys and girls in the school district. So Title IX compliance. For us, previously, it was publishing a notice of non-discrimination, and it's actually at the end of all of our letterhead and our emails. Appoint a Title IX coordinator, of which is listed in the letterhead, and adopt an equitable Title IX complaint process. So that's what we historically have had to do. Since a lot of the issues that have emerged on college campuses around sexual harassment and sexual violence, this has expanded, the Office of Civil Rights has expanded, stating that Title IX is directly applicable to issues of sexual violence and sexual abuse in educational institutions. And so there are additional requirements that have now been placed upon educational institutions based upon reporting requirements because of the hostile environment that is placed upon victims of those crimes. And unfortunately, we've actually seen in high schools victims of these crimes that are boys and girls. And so we do have to begin to think about the next slide and the things that are there. So we have to actually have a very clear grievance procedure for discrimination based upon sex in the district. That means we provide reporting options for victims of sexual harassment. We have a prompt response when receiving a complaint of sexual harassment or violence, and have appropriate standards of evidence for disciplinary hearings. And so really providing kids with due process when these allegations arise, but really having a process in place to do that. We have to provide training to employees regarding sexual violence to address those issues and so to avert them occurring. And other ancillary matters are very clear. You have to address the potential hostile environment for accusers, by accusers, for those who have been accused. And you have to address issues of retaliation should they occur. And so what I have proposed to the superintendent and proposed to you is that we will do an internal Title IX audit of the things that are going on here in the district and report and hopefully work through that through June of 2017 and then report to the board in the fall regarding those things that we need to put into place because of issues that have emerged.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lopez, and that concludes my report.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I guess next we'll move into the Head Start report. Trustee Yolanda Smith-Charles.
Thank you. After attending the workshop, not the last one that you all attended, but the one that was on a Saturday and a Saturday afternoon, you might recall, Ms. Robinson and Mr. Joyce, I recognize that some of the only things that we really need to report out community-wide is going to be enrollment, ADA, CACFP, and then the financials. So that's what my report contains today. We have 184 students currently enrolled with Head Start. Excuse me. And I'm also not required by law to report out GSRP, so I'm sticking with Head Start. So 184 currently enrolled there. 48 are, 84 on the wait list with 48 3-year-olds. 36 of those 84 are 4-year-olds. And then in terms of drops, we have 4 for Head Start. The ADA for the month of October, 73.41%. In November, it was 82.07%, and we know it's 85% is the target. And so Ms. Hill, as always, has some structures in place. Actually, the day that she gave me this report, students who had over the 85% attendance were able to go and pick out a little gift and of course go back to their classrooms respectively and brag about their attendance gifts, and so hopefully to encourage more students in their classrooms to come out. Then in terms of the Child Adult Care Food Program, for Head Start there were 1,479 breakfasts, 1,713 lunch, and 1,559 snacks. It is so important because CACFP is handled differently than the enrollment, I should say, attendance. So we still, if you're running late or if you think you may not be able to attend, still call the school. There's other things that are required with regards to feeding and making sure that the children have nutrition. So the school gets credit for that because if I'm understanding correctly, it comes out of the account and it's not reimbursable. And then the last piece for this report, there are currently 15 children with IEPs, 15 in Head Start. And then if you recall, our budget for the year is $1,650,368, of which 27.7% has been spent, or $371,000 of the federal. In terms of the local match, 27% has been utilized to the tune of $91,094. And then just a quick little highlight, I guess I'll say, for the in-kind with regards to our parents is just to keep it up, family, community, and COPA to the tune of $139,509. And so just always continuing to make sure you sign in, link sheets, all those wonderful tools you have as busy families. And that concludes the Head Start report for this month.
Okay, thank you.
Question. Do we have any information on the enrollment? I know there's some openings there at Head Start. Do we have any information on? how families can enroll if they are
Certainly, if they are interested in enrolling.
and eligible. Mhm.
I welcome them to contact Mrs. Hill at the Bussey Center. And the specifics of the enrollment process most definitely can be provided from Mrs. Hill. And your point is very valid. We do have a few open slots for Head Start and GSRP.
GSRP.
Okay, anything else? Okay, agenda item number 6, action items. These are items requiring action by the board, and I'd like to get a motion to open report number 5536, the personnel action report.
I move we open report 5536, personnel action.
Support.
Okay, properly moved and supported. Doctor, any discussion? Okay. Hearing none, Madam Secretary, call for the vote.
Trustee Joyce.
Yes.
Trustee Lewis.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Trustee Charles.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Trustee Williams.
Yes.
Trustee Poole.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Motion carries. I'd like to get a motion to open report number 5537, the budget amendment.
I move that we open report number 5537, budget amendment.
Support. Properly moved and supported to open report number 5537, the budget amendment. Dr. Wood has more information.
Certainly. I'm actually going to turn this segment over to Ms. Dankovich, and she'll share the few items that help summarize it.
Yes, thank you, Board and Dr. Wood. The budget was originally adopted back in June, and we spent the last several months really scrutinizing it and reviewing it closely. And it basically, there are some minimal changes based on now current information, such as the enrollment and staffing, and then the inclusion of the carryover items that were assigned in the June 30th audited fund equity. Additionally, the staffing budget reflects a nearly $1 million reduction that was obtained by not filling some positions or using grant funding for those. And this action was taken in response to a meeting that the district had with Oakland Schools and the Michigan Department of Treasury in August. Are there any questions specific to the budget that did not share previously or were not answered previously by the board?
Okay. Any additional questions or comments?
The amended budget will be posted as part of the transparency requirement within the next 15 days.
Thank you. Any additional questions, comments, concerns? Okay, hearing none. Madam Secretary, call for the vote.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Trustee Williams.
Yes.
Trustee Lewis.
Yes.
Trustee Joyce.
Yes.
Trustee Charles.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Trustee Poole.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Motion carries. Item number 7 are informational items, and these are items that do not require board action, but it includes report number 5538, the purchasing report, and the bill summary, number 808, which ties into our strategic goal of number 7. Madam Secretary, or I'm sorry, Madam Treasurer, any comments?
No, I think the public understands my sentiment and the rest of the board and sees where the money goes every 2 weeks or so. So, thank you.
Okay. Okay, public participation. Only those persons with concerns related to school matters may participate during the public participation portion of this meeting. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. The board will listen to comments but may not respond during the meeting. Comments may be referred to an administrator or the superintendent for follow-up. As a matter of fairness to speakers with complaints against individuals, we are asking you not to mention persons by name. Complaints concerning employees should be brought to the attention of the school principal or other administrators before bringing them to the board. Your cooperation is appreciated. I'm going to call your name. Go to the podium and state your name and your address. And the first public participant is Patrice Taylor.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Patrice Taylor. My address is 20791 Delaware Street, Southfield, Michigan, 48033. I like to start off every evening with something positive. The first thing I would like to say is positive is that we have some teachers over at Southfield A&T who are really trying very hard. And I like to say that and just back that up with stating that my son took the PSAT, and he is amongst the top 10 in his class out of 457 students. And he is the 5th of his gender. And I met with his teachers. And when I met with his teachers, we sat down, and I can tell that his teachers are doing as much as they can with what they have. And we sat down for a very long time. And we all know how I am, okay? Mm-hmm. So in saying that, we sat down and worked hard, because he's on a 504. So that says a lot with everything that's going on. Now let's go into the negative, okay? Because you know I'm going to tell you all the negative. Now, I think you all see that blue Lions coat. And I think you all see what I have on. It's nice and toasty in here. It's nice and warm. It's not like that over in Southfield A&T. It's freezing. It's very cold over in Southfield A&T. I would like to take every last one of you over there so we could walk through the school building. It's freezing over there. How do you expect any of the teachers to teach the children if it's freezing over in Southfield A&T? How do you expect any of the students to focus or concentrate if it's freezing over in Southfield A&T? I wish all of you could walk through Southfield A&T. This is the second week that I've been over there, and it's freezing. That building is cold. That should not be how our students should be walking through the classrooms or through the building, and it's cold like that. Why is that? Why are the buildings cold? I don't know if that's each building, but I know Southfield A&T is like that. Why are our students suffering? Why do the teachers have to be subjected to that? Why do the students have to be subjected to that constantly and consistently? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have Thomas Calhoun. And Mr. Calhoun, you filled out 2 cards.
Good evening. Thomas L. Calhoun, 27656 Aberdeen Street, Southfield, Michigan. I have 2 items. First of all, I would like to invite the school board and administration staff to the Southfield A&T Winter Concert, which is going to be December 21st. And it should be a good show. Also, secondly, approximately 10 months ago, at the joint meeting between the former Southfield and Southfield Lathrop High Schools booster organizations, we were shown a concept drawing for the new uniforms. For the entire band season this year, the students had to perform in their warm-up jogging suits. Before the last home game, the students and the boosters were informed that there were problems with the uniforms that had been received. The students and parents would like to know when we will be receiving the corrected uniforms and will be in time for the spring. Thank you.
What's wrong with the uniform? You said corrected. What exactly is wrong with the uniforms?
I've been told that the pants don't match. I've heard that there's problems with the drum major uniforms. The director, his formal suit that's supposed to match with the uniforms of the students. The sleeves he showed us come up to here on him, and there's some issues that need to be resolved. I've been told there were not enough of the right sizes, so I mean I'm quite sure Dr. Charles could provide a more detailed breakdown to us. I'm coming as a parent. Oh, and one last item: in order for our kids, the booster organization provided stocking caps for the kids out there in the Berkeley Parade, and my wife and I, out of our pockets, provided blue buttons with the A&T logo on them, so the kids would have a little representation on their stocking caps. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I've heard the same thing. Is it Verna Hobbs Calhoun?
Good evening.
Good evening.
This past October, I celebrated 30 years in the building that is now Southfield A&T. And I find it incredible that a 50 to 60-minute interview could capsulize my 30 years. You can tell how I interact with students and peers, not by observing me or even interviewing people who know me, but by a single interview. My passion for teaching my students, my interactions with my colleagues, my positive responses from literally hundreds of students apparently means nothing. What if I just had a bad interview? Am I then a bad teacher? My last principal told me, students love you. Did he lie? He also complimented me on my teaching skills, and so did Dr. Wood, and several of my other principals. Now I find myself in something called a teacher academy, and I still have no real idea about why I'm in the teacher academy, so how can my alleged inadequacies be addressed and or corrected? The materials, lectures, assignments addressed are topics that are very varied, and I'm not sure if they are addressing my specific needs or concerns because I'm not sure what they are. The Teacher Academy could have served several purposes. It could have capitalized on our strengths, our experience, and our expertise. We could have learned and helped the district at the same time. A group of us could have looked at low test scores, reviewed statistics, materials, etc., and posed solutions that were cost effective. We could have had district leaders talk about peer relations, teacher-student relations. We could again have formed groups, posed solutions, and been change agents. Instead, teachers were reduced to tiers in and out of the academy sessions, made to feel inadequate and inferior, all while trying to do the assigned work. This, to me, constitutes a violation of Southfield Public Schools policy on harassment. Okay, the policy reads, threatening behavior consisting of any words or deeds that intimidate a staff member or cause anxiety concerning his or her physical and or psychological well-being is strictly forbidden. You're asking me to believe that two of my former department chairs and my current department chair, who are a group of 25 white, 25 black students, all of Lathrop Social Studies, all of Southfield High's English department, that no coaches are represented there, and that the people that are representative in the academy comprise the poorest of teachers in the district. Many participants have spoken on their topics at a national level. Some have been included, have had chapters included in books at the university level. I'm not buying it. I don't believe it. Whatever the purpose of this academy, it's being mishandled. It's punitive and anxiety-provoking, causing one teacher to retire and many to drop out, even though we're told that the consequences of attendance are individual development plan. I'd like to pose a solution, if I may. I know that my time is up. During our MEEP years, we had yellow sheet days to confer to test students, to build, to discuss their strengths and weaknesses. During that time, we had higher test scores. I ask that we consider the fact that teachers need to be a part of this process in a more positive way. I ask that the school board consider either opening the academy to all teachers or discontinuing the academy as it is in its current guise until its goals, purpose, and policies are clear. Thank you.
Kara Schuell.
It's Kara Schuell, and I teach at Southfield High School for the Arts and Technology. My name is Kara Kutula Schuell, and I have been teaching in Southfield since 1991. And again, as Verna told you, you may have heard of the program in Southfield this year that is called the Teacher Academy. A group of teachers convene twice a month, study a text about good teaching methods, and reflect about their teaching practice. On the surface, this sounds like a really great teaching practice. In fact, I've participated in many similar initiatives in my 26 years in Southfield. I love teaching, I love learning, I love school. I love programs like this. And I would have likely signed up with eager anticipation had it been voluntary. Good teachers are always open to stay current and to get better at our craft. Sadly, the Teacher Academy program exhibits none of the best practice methods that I've come to expect for professional development in Southfield. The attendance is mandatory, with threats of our employment if we don't attend. The atmosphere is hostile, unprofessional, and insulting. The program intentions have been unclear. However, the results have been demoralizing. The Teacher Academy teachers' opinions are not valued, and the atmosphere has lacked dignity and respect. It's ironic that you saw a program today from Thompson called I Am Not a Label, because we, the teachers in the academy, are labels. There are 25 of us who are black, 25 of us who are white, and we are reminded of that. It's disturbing, and I am greatly dismayed. We were told that we are teachers who have prejudice against our students, and this institutionalized racism is what is keeping scores low. I have taught here in Southfield for 26 years, and my heart has always been, and always will be, to help Southfield students to achieve their very best. Professional development can be a wonderful thing, but this current Teacher Academy is not the answer. We need to suspend the Teacher Academy immediately and reboot this program with a joint committee, including a variety of teachers, who together with kindness and consideration for each other, and in order to enhance our teaching and learning in a positive way. Thank you.
Sean Banks. Second time, Sean Banks. Third time, Sean Banks. Debbie Shulman.
Good evening. I've been a teacher in this district for 14 years. I've worked for 4 different superintendents, have made a home in 3 different buildings, and have taught 5 different grade levels. In the past 4 years, I've seen a big change in the district in ways that the teachers have been treated. At the beginning of this school year, I sat with a hopeful optimism that there might be a few changes. I listened on opening day as Dr. Wood emphasized that the teachers are the backbone and the heart of our district, and she appreciates our hard work, our dedication, and knows that the district would not be successful if it weren't for these hardworking teachers. If that statement is true, then why are we not being compensated or respected for our hard work? Allow me to be more specific. In the past 4 years, my class size has increased from 24 students per class to 30 students per class, often having class sizes of 32. My school day has increased, adding additional minutes per day. This year, there is a 5-day increase to our school year and an increase to our health care, yet I have not seen an increase in my salary. In most professions where an employee has a bachelor's degree with a double minor from a very reputable college, holds a master's degree, and if this employee is given more work, more hours, and all evaluations are seen as highly effective, they would receive a raise. In my case, I've had my salary frozen, not even receiving a sensible cost of living increase, only to learn that new employees who have not dedicated 14 years of their career to the district are being hired in at step 10. When our salary was frozen, I went and found a second job. That number is now at 4. Instead of participating in after-school activities such as music concerts, tutoring, or athletic events, I must leave directly from school and go to another job, often not getting home until 8. Counting weeknights and weekends, I'm spending 20 extra hours working instead of being able to dedicate this time to my students and lesson planning. Let's not count the average of 10 hours per week of grading papers, which teachers do not receive any overtime pay, which also means time away from my family. During the summer, instead of attending the Michigan Reading Association Conference or the NCTE Conference, I'm now working full-time at job number 4. How sad and humiliating to have a career, 2 degrees in higher education, and to have to work 4 jobs because the job I'm truly passionate about won't advance my salary. Please consider giving teachers, including myself. For me, it would be an advance in our salary and unfreezing at least 1 step. For me, it would be the difference between spending more time for my students and the freedom to drop one of my other jobs. The district has the money. Let's spend it wisely.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Moving on to board matters. This is the section of our meeting where board members speak on various topics. I'd like to, first of all, start with Miss Betty Robinson.
I'm ready.
Trustee Leslie Smith.
That's Leslie Love Smith.
Leslie Love Smith.
Thank you.
Leslie Love Smith.
Emphasis on the love, please. Thank you. Just a few things. Just always want to make it a point to acknowledge the parents, the teachers who came out. Obviously, we do have the stress that we cannot always directly address your concerns, but just so that you know you are heard, you are valued, and I do look forward to hearing some follow-up on some of the issues that you did address tonight. I do want to say kudos to all of the staff that were involved in the Parent University. I want to say kudos to all the parents that came out to the event. I enjoyed the event as both a board member and a parent. I learned a lot. I was really excited to see particularly the session regarding the data on the MAP scores. Mm-hmm. And so any parents who are struggling or just want to know more about how to interpret those scores and how to not only interpret the scores, but some of the concrete activities and different ways you can assist your children at home, I do recommend that you reach out to your building principals. I know as soon as my daughter came home with her scores, I reached out and I was able to get a lot of feedback and information on just the specifics of the content areas that I saw my daughter was a little lower in some of the scores. So that information is there. So I just want to extend that to the parents so that you know that that is available. There is something that you can do beyond just looking at the scores and seeing them either go up or down and seeing that number, that percentile number. And then also to my colleagues who are leaving the board, I just want to thank you for your service. It has been quite a journey serving with you, and particularly to Trustee Williams, I look forward to continuing to serve with you as you transition into your role with the foundation. So, and then I also just want to mention to you, Trustee Williams, a thank you. You were a mentor to me, and so I definitely value the contributions that you've made to this board, and I value the support that you've provided me as a leader here in the district as well. And so thank you all, and happy holidays to you. Please be safe on the roads, and thank you again. That's all I have.
Trustee Yolanda Smith Charles.
Thank you, Board President. And on many notes mentioned by Trustee Smith, I would concur as well, particularly on the holiday front. Hashtag Merry Christmas, bringing back Christmas to the Christmas season. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention that most people know on this board that I come from a family of educators. My grandmother retired from the Detroit public school system after 36 wonderful years of teaching 3rd and 4th graders. And then, call her crazy, retired and then went back and subbed. So then I learned about this whole concept of, good subs, because a lot of times you find yourself getting just people who look like babysitters. And why do I bring that up? It's because I've always believed that teachers just by principle of the way our country is designed, are never going to be paid enough. And it pains me when, it looks like board versus whatever body. And it's unfortunate because when we talk about adding days to calendars and school and stuff, in a lot of ways, I'd love for some of that same passion and drive from that podium just moments ago to drive 62 minutes north and for our Michigan Department of Ed monthly annual meetings where they ask for people to testify about different things going on. Even if you can't get there, you can stream it, you can call, you can tweet, you can text, you can chat, you can do just about everything. And I do feel our hands are tied in a lot of ways when it comes to the things that we get from Lansing. So I always like to just applaud every pre-K-12 teacher because you're chosen vessels to do this work. I do have to say with my board member hat too that I had some excellent English language arts teachers going through Southfield Public Schools. Some of them are in the room. And I definitely, just hearing from the podium today, would need to have conversations with the superintendent a little bit more about this academy, which I thought I knew a little bit about, but I think I need a little bit more of a digest. Because the last thing we want to do is make anything seem punitive when it's not supposed to be. And I do know, if we're being honest, that sometimes we do feel racial ebbs and flows. It's not comfortable. Nobody likes to talk about it. Our district is primarily a minority-majority district, and but our city is not. And so we're faced with a lot of those kids and their kids, and they're busing kids in, and so we've got to do a better job either as board members or as a community in terms of advocating for Southfield Public Schools. And I like it when people give their address and it's a Southfield residence, and you work in the district. I mean, all those kinds of things I appreciate, but I do understand that even if you live in Belleville and you come and you work in Southfield, you're away from your family for a great part of the day. So I can't discredit people who don't live in the Southfield area when they come to that podium. So I just want to make my statement clear that the goal should always be to sharpen the saw, not to whittle it down to a non-existent saw. My last comment is in line with Trustee Smith as well, where I have to shout out my two board members who are escaping, heading off to other activities in their life. And I want to say to Trustee Williams, who knows very well that it took us time to develop such a great working relationship, and that goes for a couple of folks who are no longer on the board anymore. But I appreciate your wisdom, and I appreciate your leadership and your passion and your drive. And the one thing that I will take with me that I've learned from you is to start on time. So I will make it my effort to at least be in my chair, so that way I can think of Trustee Williams looking at us on TV, get that meeting started. So I appreciate your time and your effort on that. And I want to say to Trustee Lewis that when I first got on the board, there was this big push towards updating our policies. And little did I know that took a bright-eyed youngster named Nathaniel Lewis Jr. to get on the board and say, hey, when's the last time we've reviewed these? And so my very first instance of Nathaniel Lewis was someone who always wanted to dig deeper and make sure we get things right. So I wish both of you the best, and don't be strangers.
Trustee Joyce.
Yes, thank you, Board President. I had the pleasure this afternoon of attending a program at Bussey Center, and it was a special program because it was several corporations who have attended Bussey for the last 4 or 5 years called Share a Smile. And some of those corporations is Ford Motor Company, Mars Corporation, FedEx, Frameworks, and United Shore. And what they did is they chose 8 families that did not have the wherewithal or the means to make sure their family had a great Christmas. And so they did some fundraising, and they spent money on their own. And what they did is they supplied these 8 families with everything they needed and then some. And it was unbelievable. It drew tears. There were several times I had to walk away and go outside and come back in because some of the items that they provided for these families were mattress and box spring, where there's some families that didn't have bidding for their families, bicycles, microwaves, just a lot of things. They asked the families just exactly what they needed, and being very humble, they put a few items down there, but they went over and beyond that and gave them everything they could possibly need, even laundry supplies and everything. So it was really great to see that, because this is at this time in the year of giving, and they truly showed their giving hearts by helping these families out. So it was really meaningful. It was an awesome program, and I just wanted to share that with everyone.
Thank you, Trustee Joyce. And I think at the last meeting we had with Ms. Hill, she mentioned that it would be a tear jerker. So thanks for representing. Trustee Nathaniel Lewis.
I don't have anything to say right now. All of my comments were said earlier. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Williams.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to again thank the mayor for the proclamation by the city, as today is Rance Williams Day. I want to thank the community, those present and those that are watching and listening to this, for the opportunity to serve. I have been truly fortunate to serve my community as a school board trustee. Thank you, Mr. James Jackson, my fellow fraternity brother, my fellow alumni from Kentucky State University, for guiding me this way, and for him above and ordering my steps and allowing me to take on this position. James, everyone knows you. Thank you so much. You're a true warrior. Again, I thank each and every one of you, past and present, for your service to our community, state, and nation. As Muhammad Ali once quoted, "Service to others is the price you pay for your room here on earth." I believe this to be an accurate statement. Why? Because I believe that what we do in life will echo in eternity. One of our greatest books, in my opinion, if not the greatest, states, I'll give you 2. "For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many." Mark 10:45. Each one should use whatever gift he has received to serve others, faithfully administering God's grace in its various form. 1 Peter 4:10. Everyone can be great because anyone can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and your verb agree to serve. You don't have to know the second theory or thermodynamics in physics to serve. We heard some of the challenges from our students about physics earlier. You only need a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love. We kept hearing that theme throughout the night and re-emphasized here at the board. I look forward to my next endeavor, leading the Southfield Public Schools Foundation, raising money, instead of some of the other things that I've had to encounter as a board member. Hopefully, and also partnering with companies that can help us, the Southfield Public Schools system, our district, to further our cause in teaching and learning and assisting our teachers and students in moving further in their endeavors. Lastly, and definitely not least, I thank my family for their support, my friends, and my board colleagues for the past 7-8 years as we work together to move this district forward. I ask that each of you continue to be a blessing. Have a safe and enjoyable holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Williams. I guess now I'm the senior board member, even though I probably look like I'm the youngest. So before these two guys leave, I'm not going to let them leave without, I got to do it. We spent too much time together. We haven't always agreed, but we've agreed to disagree to move forward. So with that, let me just mark this path that we've traveled together. I won't be long, I promise. When I started here at the Southfield Board of Education, I was elected. Trustee Williams, Trustee Lewis were already here. But what I found in 2009, and it's nearly been 8 years now, we were just entering what the economists called was the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression of the 1930s. It threatened the total collapse of our financial institution in this country as well as around the world. Stock markets were dropping worldwide. In many areas of this country, the housing market suffered as well, resulting in evictions, homelessness, which we've had to deal with, foreclosures, and prolonged unemployment. This crisis played a significant role in the failure of key businesses in this community, such as General Motors, Lehman Brothers, Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, organizations that you would have never thought would collapse. Resulted in declines in consumer wealth as well, estimated in the trillions of US dollars. A downturn in economic activity leading to the 2008 through 2012 global recession. We were all sitting on this board, us three were sitting on this board at that time. Here in the state of Michigan, we suffered severe job loss, high unemployment, declines in population, as well as property values, which ultimately affected school aid funding. My colleagues and I call it we three, because we walked this road together. We were facing a $27.5 million deficit. We three were living in the worst times, but somehow, some way, and I think all three of us know how, turn that $27.5 million deficit to a $2 million fund balance. During this time, we actually were able to improve our credit rating to AAA, the highest credit rating offered by Moody's and Standard & Poor's. The development of Field Zone, remember that? Now, I can't touch on everything, but just the high points. We developed Field Zone, a collaborative after-school program for community youth. We received district-wide accreditation from both the Advanced Ed as well as the North Central Association of Colleges and Schools, NCA, which you know, EMU, Central Michigan University, Michigan State University, and the University of Michigan all carry that designation. Some districts carry it school by school. We carried it district-wide. At that time, the graduation rate here in Southfield was 88%. Now we're well over 94% in the graduation rate. And that was compared to the national average of 78.2% in the state of Michigan, which trailed at 76% that same period. We had 4 Southfield Public School students earn the Gates Millennium Scholarship. And many districts throughout this country have never had one. $10 million in scholarships in 2011, $12 million in scholarships in 2012, $13 million in scholarships in 2013, and over $25 million in scholarships every year thereafter. Southfield Public Schools has been recognized for its exemplary school designations by the U.S. Department of Education. Actually, Arnie Duncan sent his staff out to see what we were doing. We created AP experiences for K-8 students, with over 1,200 high school students taking at least one AP class. We implemented the International Baccalaureate program for grades K through 12. We created STEM education starting at the 6th grade. Most schools around the world will taunt we have STEM at the high school level, and they were considered world class. We also, I saw tonight, we talked about Parenting University in some of our sessions. We actually saw that come to fruition tonight. We increased dual enrollment for our students to earn college credit while attending Oakland Community College and the University of Michigan. We developed the University High School Academy, which was named by Newsweek magazine as one of the best high schools in America. This continues year after year. 2011, the Southfield Regional Academic Center was named the Michigan Alternative School of the Year by the Michigan Department of Education. Award-winning national model for differentiated instruction by the ASCD, Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development, recognized nationally in 2012 by the NSBA Magnum Award in San Francisco, California, and by the American School Board Journal, which we were featured in, a national magazine. See, I was keeping track. Not to mention New Orleans, where we spoke on a national stage. Comprehensive high school redesign featuring core courses, 8th grade high school programs, and enhanced mentoring and counseling programs. 2013, Dr. Wanda Cook Robinson was named Superintendent of the Year by the Michigan Association of School Administrators, and later went on to be one of the top 4 in the country. But we were living in some of the worst of times. Nominated by the Michigan Association of School Board Association to be recognized as the District of the Year to the National School Board Association. We had our first Nobel Prize winner in economics from the Southfield High School, and Mr. Robert Schiller. We even had a top 10 American Idol winner in Malaya Watson, who I first saw at Field Zone, pulled her off stage and told her how good she was and that one day she was going to be a star. She came to my daughter's prom going out at the house, and reminded me of that conversation. She's currently working on her recording contract as we speak. Approval of the $3.5 million e-textbooks, instructional materials, and technology upgrade, which we allowed the teachers to recommend. Passage of a millage renewal in 2013. Millage renewal, a 6-year renewal of the current 17.6345 operating mills, but we only levied 16.9868 mills to assist our community in their time of need. Plus many other accomplishments of all of our board members, superintendents, administrators, teachers, staff, students, and parents. Nothing less. I think 3 of the most outstanding jobs we had to deal with, and one of the biggest accomplishments we had as board members was overseeing over 4,000 students graduate from Southfield Public Schools. These students graduated and went on to careers in college, higher ed, as other areas of community service. These accomplishments didn't come without a sacrifice, because we 3 volunteered our time, our minds, skills, resources, patience, and talent to make those tough decisions, to make our community a better place to live, work, and raise a family. Do you know that we've met in this boardroom over 832 times over the 8 years we've spent together, us three? Invested hundreds, if not thousands of hours of our personal time to ensure that all of our students receive the best quality public education possible. So with that, gentlemen, I say thank you for your service, and I look forward to serving with you on the Southfield Public School Foundation. And as you know, I'm one that puts my money where my mouth is. You'll have my check in the morning. All right? With that, I think we've got future board meetings. Monday, December 19th, 6 o'clock, special board meeting study session. Tuesday, December 20th, 6 o'clock, student hearings with trustees Robinson, myself, Lewis, and Joyce. December 26th through January 4th, schools and offices are closed for the midwinter break. Friday and Saturday, January 6th and 7th, is the board retreat, location to be determined. Tuesday, July 10th, 7 o'clock, is our regularly scheduled board meeting. I'd like to ask for a motion to go into closed session to discuss a legal matter.
I move that we go into closed session to discuss a legal matter.
Properly moved and supported. Madam Secretary, would you call for a roll call vote?
Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Lewis?
Yes.
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Trustee Williams?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Trustee Joyce?
Yes.
Trustee Poole?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Okay, we are now in closed session.